Hi, guys. Drumroll recaps here. Today, I'm going to explain a 2020 American movie called The Midas Touch, where a young man gains the power to pleasure women, men, and even animals using only his mind. The story follows a man who suddenly acquires an extraordinary ability to seduce women with a single touch, which soon becomes a curse rather than a blessing. The movie begins with a shy man named Felix, preparing for his day at a public relations agency. His boss, Ron, notices that he's been showing interest in a lady and teases him for his lack of knowledge in interacting with women. This lady is Sarah Walker, Ron's new client. Another woman, Jane, attempts to strike up a conversation with Felix in hopes of flirting with him, but he disappointingly falls short. Subsequently, Sarah approaches Felix and asks for his assistance in carrying some of her belongings home. Awkwardly, Felix agrees, and they walk together, with Felix carrying boxes of Sarah's belongings. As they pass through a public park, they encounter two magicians, Sviatoslav and his assistant, who are promoting their seminars to female park visitors. These seminars offer knowledge about sexuality and enhancing mental abilities. Meanwhile, Sarah and Felix arrive at her home, where they are welcomed by three young women, Nevi, Elena, and Sarita. Sarah instructs the women to perform songs in front of Felix, who gradually realizes that they are part of a cult. He reluctantly joins in with the choir and attempts to sing a verse. Sarah then offers him a drink and leaves to meet her husband, leaving Felix disappointed. Sarah's husband, James Walker, is running for governor of the city and has hired Felix's agency to create a campaign video, for which Felix contributed ideas. During the video shoot, James repeatedly stumbles over his lines, blaming Felix for making distracting faces. Ron scolds Felix and suggests that James give an impromptu speech instead. Back at home, Sarah discusses her concerns with James, expressing that she feels Ron is flirting with her. James dismisses her, attributing it to her beauty, and claims he's too tired from the election campaign to discuss it further. Sviatoslav and his assistant continue their seminar, choosing Sarita as a volunteer who does not follow their instructions to portray beautiful women as unintelligent, frustrating Sviatoslav. Meanwhile, during the male seminar session, Sviatoslav selects Felix as a volunteer and instructs him to flirt with Amalia, his assistant. Unfortunately, Felix's lack of experience and awkwardness lead to failure, leaving him humiliated. Feeling embarrassed, Felix heads to a bar for a drink and observes a man named Semyaza, who possesses a curse that makes him exceptionally attractive to women. Semyaza expresses his desire to pass on this curse, and Felix agrees. They perform a ritual, and Felix gains the ability. As Felix walks through the park, he inadvertently arouses women through physical contact. Even the vendor cart woman becomes highly stimulated when she touches him while taking his money. Felix realizes the power he now possesses and tests it on various women who all become enamored with him. However, as Felix becomes tired of his routine and the constant attention from women, he encounters three persistent women who beg him for interaction. Felix insists on some personal time to rest. The following day at the office, Ron suspects Felix has been spending time with women and praises him for improving his interactions with females. Ron is astounded when he witnesses Felix's three infatuated followers. Felix decides to seek an explanation for his newfound ability and meets with Professor Jones, an expert in cult rituals. The professor reveals that the ritual dates back to ancient Samaria when a young man named Uruk sought to win the heart of Ashihara and learned the ritual of making women attracted to him from his spiritual advisor, Sake. Uruk's success led to the ritual's continuation for thousands of years. Unbeknownst to Felix, Ron overhears his conversation with Professor Jones. Sviatoslav and his assistant spot Felix being chased by his devoted followers in the park, recognizing him as the man who struggled during their seminar. Back at Felix's office, Jane approaches him again, but this time, Felix touches her, arousing her interest. She informs him that Ron wants to see him in his office, where Ron convinces Felix that they can collaborate to excel in their careers. He asks Felix to hide underneath his sofa, but with his hand popping out of the hole, then meets Sarah, who already has an appointment with him. He positions himself on the sofa so that Sarah unknowingly touches Felix's hand, arousing her, but making her think that she is aroused because of Ron and proceeds to have intercourse with him. Felix goes viral with news outlets broadcasting his abilities and interviewing his infatuated women. Jane, who is in Jane's office, recognizes Felix when he appears on television, saying that something feels special when he touches her. James deduces that Felix has a special ability with his touch. Sarah and her choir are also watching the news and discussing what kind of ability Felix possesses. Ron and Sviatoslav are also watching it and wishing they could possess Felix's ability. Felix goes to a bar and tries to talk with desperate men who may want his ability, but no one believes him. Unbeknownst to him, Sviatoslav and his assistant disguise themselves to overhear Felix's conversation. Meanwhile, James meets Ron and asks if he can have Felix's ability to gain more votes from the women and ensure his victory in the upcoming election, as well as repair his relationship with Sarah. Ron admits that he knows how to get the ritual, which is by performing a silly dance. They try to perform it, then James attempts to touch a woman, but he is smacked on the face. Ron meets with Felix, convincing him to pass the ability to James so James can get what he wants, and they can excel in their careers. Felix is confused by the situation and meets with Professor Jones again to seek counsel. He knows that the ability must only be passed down to someone with a pure heart. Otherwise, someone can use it for evil intentions. However, Professor Jones tells him that passing the ability with someone of a pure heart will only bring misery to the bearer, just like Samyaza and Felix have experienced. He suggests Felix pass it to someone with an evil heart because instead of arousing women, it will cause the women to throw hate and anger toward the bearer. Felix is kidnapped by Sviatoslav and his assistant. On his way home, Felix wakes up in a cult meeting, which turns out to be joined by Sarah and Sviatoslav. Sarah is curious about Felix's ability and demands he touches her so she can know what it feels like. She is overwhelmed by the sensation and faints. Sviatoslav demands Felix to pass the ability to him, but just as Felix wants to perform the ritual, Ron walks in, telling them Felix cannot pass the ability to anyone else because he made a deal with James. Sviatoslav stabs Ron, determined to get the ability no matter the cost. James also walks in and fights to gain the ability, but Sviatoslav defeats him too. The ritual is eventually performed. Then Felix successfully passes his ability to Sviatoslav and is freed from his misery, from being endlessly chased by women. Sometime later, Sviatoslav holds a seminar. Again, he touches the women with the hope that they will be attracted to him. However, they all turn angry instead, then chase after him to beat him to death. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.